On the 15th of July 2018, France defeated Croatia at Moscow's Luzhniki Stadium, winning the FIFA World Cup. The Blues, or Les Bleus, lifted their second trophy in the tournament's history, 20 years after their first. Since the inaugural FIFA World Cup in 1930, the tournament has seen 22 squads emerge as the best side which the world of professional football has to offer in that given year. Though most football fans will be quick to tell you which country won the World Cup in which years, many will struggle to tell you the exact name of all the players in each winning side, and I am no exception. But when it comes to France's 2018 win, I am surprised with how many names I remember from that squad, and it seems that many people I speak to still remember most of those names as well. Of course, there may be some recency bias in this, but I think there is another factor for why these names are so memorable, one which can be condensed into 6 words: Ramenez la coupe à la maison. The song Ramenez la coupe à la maison, or Bring the Cup Home, was recorded by French rap Afropop artist Vegedream on the eve of the 2018 final, and was only unveiled after France's big win during the team's victory lap around the stadium. The celebratory track was an instant hit, focused on praising the squad's accomplishments during the tournament. Ramenez la coupe is not the first football song, and much less the first sports song. The tradition is an old and long-standing one, likely due to the parallels between the two forms. Both music and sport are hobbies which certain gifted individuals can master, and they are both ultimately aimed at satisfying an audience. For the ancient Greeks, the spheres of sports and arts were intrinsically bound together in the cultivation of a complete individual, with Aristotle claiming that one enriched a person's body while the other enriched their character. Both in music and sport, the human thirst for competition drives practitioners to seek to become the best in their field. Contemporary society has seen several successful crossovers between the two interconnected forms, but in the spirit of competition, I venture to say that Ramenez la coupe is one of the most accomplished examples in modern history. The song is one which entirely accomplishes its aim, to capture a moment, an intense and immediate feeling of joy, immortalizing it within the confines of a radio-friendly track. That's a power which music flaunts with pride, of being able to preserve fragments of time which listeners can access in the future when in search of longing or nostalgia. This is another overlap which the form shares with sport. Watching decisive sporting contests from years ago, or even just talking about them with friends, immediately transports one back to where they were when it all took place. Since Ramenez la coupe is a song about sport, and one which soundtracked a significant sporting moment, it channels nostalgia from both these parameters. The more pessimistic aspect of nostalgia, however, is that the moment will always only be a moment, leaving us to think about a time that once was and no longer is. As much as music and sport can help preserve fragments of time for the future, the impact of those moments are eroded over time. Music tastes are constantly changing, so songs which sound nostalgic also often sound dated. Similarly in sport, what's hot one month is cold the next. This fact becomes obvious when looking at the lyrics of Ramenez la coupe. The 4-minute song takes the listener through every player in the French squad for the 2018 World Cup. For many of these players, however, it simply states their name over the beat and proceeds to the next. The truly memorable part of the track lies within the first section, in which each player referenced also gets an extended lyrical homage. This is the part of the song which I will focus on in this video. The first of these players is Samuel Umtiti. In 2018, the Barcelona centre-back was so good that he was selected as a starter for France's 2018 Cup squad despite having a knee injury at the time. Instead of surgery, Umtiti chose to play through his pains and was a crucial defender during the tournament. But the choice would prove costly. After the Cup, his knee never fully recovered from the strain, and injury issues have sabotaged his career since. Barcelona tried selling him several times, but no clubs were interested in the costly and fragile asset. Worse still, Umtiti himself didn't want to leave, due to his big money contract with the club. This attitude made him an unpopular player with many Barca fans, and with the club itself. Last year, Umtiti accepted the compromise of a wage reduction over a longer contract, allowing Barcelona to invest in new signings. He was then sent on a successful loan to Serie A side Lecce, helping the Italian club avoid relegation. Though this was an improvement in form, it was still a far cry from the heights which many expected of him in 2018. The steady decline of his career is most notable by the fact that he was never even considered for France's squad in the 2022 World Cup. This year, Barcelona chose to terminate Umtiti's contract 3 years early to clear the wage bills. The defender has since signed for Lille in the French league. In 2018, Benjamin Mendy was a promising up-and-coming defender for Manchester City. Similarly to Umtiti, Mendy was called up for the World Cup despite injury concerns at the time and played in the group stages. After the Cup, he He had some knee issues, but continued playing well for Man City. His story took a dark turn in August of 2021 when an English court charged him with 4 counts of rape and 1 count of sexual assault against 3 women. He was promptly suspended by Man City ahead of the trial. What followed was a lengthy legal battle and court proceedings, with further accusations put forward. This year, Mendy was found not guilty relating to a number of charges. He has since signed for French club Lorient. Though it seems Mendy will be able to continue his footballing career, his name is one that will likely forever be associated with controversy and scandal. Blaise Matuidi's footballing career, however, is most definitely over. The midfielder was called up for the French squad in 2018 due to his versatile work rate at Juventus. Matuidi would go on to win 3 Serie A titles in 3 seasons with the club. In the summer of 2020, he moved to the US, joining newly formed Inter Miami in the MLS. The move didn't pay off. It was soon revealed that Matuidi's signing broke the league's financial guideline rules, and the club subsequently faced transfer sanctions and a $2 million fine. To make matters worse, Matuidi underperformed and was left off the Miami roster in 2022 despite having a year left with the club. After his contract expired at the end of last year, he announced his retirement from football, aged 35. It was an anticlimactic end to a career that reached such immense heights. But while these 3 players are well past their sporting prime, Kylian Mbappe, the next footballer to be referenced in the song, is currently at the peak of his powers. At the 2018 World Cup, the Paris Saint-Germain striker scored 4 crucial goals for Les Bleus, becoming France's youngest ever scorer in Cup history, aged only 19. In the years since the Cup, Mbappe has consistently been the best player, not only in PSG, but also in the whole of the French league, as well as one of the best players in the world. This was proven not only by his performance in the 2018 World Cup, but also by his efforts in the 2022 tournament, in which France finished second. Though the nation ultimately lost to Argentina in the final, Mbappe put in the performance of a lifetime, scoring 4 goals against the tournament's best keeper, Emi Martinez. With 12 World Cup goals under his belt at the age of 24, Mbappe is on an unstoppable track to becoming the tournament's record scorer, and he will likely soon be regarded as one of the greatest footballers of all time. He has frequently been linked with a move away from Paris in recent years, specifically to Real Madrid. Earlier this year, Saudi Arabian side Al Hilal offered a whopping €300 million transfer fee to sign Mbappe. The offer was snubbed, and Mbappe will likely remain in Europe. Ousmane Dembele's career has been a mixed bag, but he was also called up for both the 2018 and 2022 World Cups. Dembele has been an inconsistent player at Barcelona since his record signing in 2017, often struggling with injury. Many of the club's fans have turned on him over the years, as he has failed to live up to both his price tag and potential. But similarly to Umtiti, he has stayed at Barca. Last year, negotiations over a new contract between the player and the club broke down. Barca insisted Dembele accept pay cuts, whilst Dembele not only demanded higher wages, but also accused the club of trying to blackmail him into leaving if he didn't accept their terms. After Xavi was appointed new Barcelona manager, Dembele was reintroduced into the team, and his performances improved noticeably. However, the club still let him go as a free agent at the end of the season. Dembele's camp likely expected offers to come flying in, but embarrassingly, none did. With nobody else interested, he awkwardly returned to Barca, signing a new deal which is considerably lower than the one the club had previously offered him. However, following his return to form at Barca, it seems Dembele is now set to join PSG. Hamne Lacoup's tribute to midfielder N'Golo Kante is arguably the most memorable part of the song to this day. In 2018, the midfielder's inclusion in the French World Cup squad was obvious, having helped both Leicester City and Chelsea win Premier League titles through his strength and work rate. Kante featured in all of France's matches during the tournament. In the 2021 Champions League final, his man-of-the-match performance against Manchester City was essential in helping Chelsea claim the trophy. Since that triumphant final, however, Kante's career has seen a gradual decline due to recurring injury issues. In late 2022, he had to undergo surgery and was forced to miss the World Cup in December. With his Chelsea contract running out, Kante has now chosen to move to Saudi side Al Ittihad. Presnel Kimpembe has perhaps had the most uneventful career path out of any of the players praised in Hamne Lacoupe. A product of PSG's academy system, he was called up to the French squad in 2018 after Eliakim Mangala withdrew because of injury. Since that World Cup, he has remained at PSG, signing a contract extension in the summer of 2020. Recently, Kimpembe has struggled with a series of injuries, forcing him to miss the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. Finally, we have Paul Pogba. At the time of the 2018 World Cup, Pogba was already splitting opinions. Nevertheless, he was selected for France's 2018 World Cup squad, and it paid off, as the midfielder excelled throughout the tournament. After the Cup, however, his performances remained irregular for Manchester United. Pogba's relationship with the club soured, reaching a boiling point when José Mourinho became manager. The pair were even filmed having a heated argument during a training session, and Pogba was soon dropped from the starting lineup. But Pogba's performances continued to be inconsistent when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer became manager, and the player was also prone to injuries. In his last season with Man United, he only scored 1 goal. Last summer, Pogba finally left the club and chose to return to Juventus. Almost immediately after the announcement, however, he picked up a knee injury and was ruled out for several months, having to miss the 2022 World Cup. Despite returning to the pitch earlier this year, he has since suffered another injury. As the highest earning player at Juventus, and with a contract that runs until 2026, despite being riddled by injuries and inconsistency, it is uncertain how Pogba's future will pan out. Looking back on these careers with the benefit of hindsight, we see footballers with vastly different journeys, but many of whom never managed to meet their expectations. The fact that there are no guarantees in football can be clearly seen when looking at the market value of these 8 players over time. Transfer market data shows that after France's World Cup victory in 2018, the market value for 4 of the 8 players increased. These increases largely correlate with how outstanding each player's performance was considered during the tournament. Unsurprisingly, Mbappe's value saw the biggest increase, from €120 million before the Cup to a whopping €150 million after. Kante's value increase is also notable, while Umtiti's and Mendy's increased by a smaller amount. Matuidi, Dembele and Kimpembe all saw their value stay the same before and after the Cup, but the only player of the 8 whose value decreased after the tournament is Pogba. This fact can be attributed more to his performances for Manchester United than for France. Now fast forward these figures to include the current day, and we see Pogba's value plummet from 80 million in late 2018 to 20 million this March. But he's not the only player whose value has decreased in this period. On the contrary, he is now part of the majority trend, showing football's volatile nature. Kante, who was so highly valued after the 2018 Cup, has also seen his value shrink from 80 to 20 million within 5 years, with Dembele's value also noticeably decreasing. Both Matuidi and Mendy had non-existent market values in early 2023, given that they were no longer active footballers, while Umtiti's drop in value is perhaps the most striking, from €70 million to a mere 4 million earlier this year. Only 2 of the 8 players have seen their value increase in this 5-year period. Kimpembe by a marginal 5 million, and of course Mbappe, who has reached a colossal market value of €180 million. One key reason why Mbappe is such an anomaly in this dataset is not only his remarkable talent, but also his youth. He is by far the youngest player of the 8, which is partly why his value is the only one that continues to rise over this period. Take Kante, for example. The midfielder is considered by many as one of the greatest to ever play in his position, winning almost every accolade there is to win over his career. Despite all of that, his market value has fallen drastically in the 5 years since winning the World Cup, whilst Mbappe's has grown exponentially. So why has the worth of these 2 exceptional footballers taken such different directions? Well, Kante is over 7 years older than Mbappe. In 2018, he was a well-established 27-year-old player, whereas 19-year-old Mbappe had only recently started making a name for himself. Today, Kante is 31 and Mbappe is 24. This is significant because football, despite its emphasis on legacy and longevity, is a fleeting profession which for many is here today and gone tomorrow. There are several papers which demonstrate the expiry date nature of professional football. For example, Dendir's study in Frontiers In found that the majority of players in Europe's biggest leagues are aged between 21 and 29, with a big drop-off in the amount aged 30 and up. This trend, as the study suggests, seems to be explained by the combination of endurance and explosive power necessary to cope with physical and physiological demands of modern elite soccer. Even the players with the lengthiest of careers are aware of the mortality of triumph. A key reason why Lionel Messi lifting the World Cup trophy last year was so impactful was exactly because of his age. At 35, this was likely his last shot at winning it all. So, whereas Mbappe is currently in his peak performance age, Kante's time in the sun is already fading. In a few years, it will have gone for good. But aging isn't the only reason as to why football careers spark and fade so quickly before an audience. Another large factor is the audience itself. For professional footballers, the fans hold great importance. They will be there to bring you up, but they will also be there to break you down. Many sports fans are incredibly fickle, and love for a player can go as easily as it comes. A decline in form one season can turn a player from club icon to overrated, but if that same player sees better numbers the next season, he can become a fan favourite once more. Take recent Premier League seasons, for example. Players like Granit Xhaka for Arsenal, Marcus Rashford for Manchester United, and Jack Grealish for Manchester City, who have gone from being considered one of their club's biggest disappointments to some of their most essential assets. But just as these names have gone from zero to hero, others have faced the opposite slope. Others like Edouard Mendy. It wasn't long ago that the Senegal international was considered one of the world's best goalkeepers, and a key reason why Chelsea had won the Champions League in 2021. Within 2 years, he has seen a drastic decline in form, has been replaced as Chelsea's first-choice keeper, and became a player which many fans of the club wanted to see go as soon as possible. They have now got their wish, as he is on his way to Allez in the Saudi League. How audiences embrace or reject you in football is therefore always subject to change. It is important to remember that professional football is not only a sport, but a form of show business, and fame is an infamously fleeting concept itself. There is a wonderful article by actor Michael Simpkins in which he summarizes this point. He states, "According to showbiz law, there are 5 stages in the career of every actor. In my case, they are:
Who's Michael Simpkins? Who's this Michael Simpkins? Get me Michael Simpkins. Get me a young Michael Simpkins.
And finally,
who was Michael Simpkins?"
The trick is to advance quickly from stage 1 to stage 3 and stay there as long as possible. Yet however hard you cling to the greasy pole, you will inevitably be toppled by age, infirmity, or changing tastes. This statement is as true for an actor as it is for a footballer, seeing as both are professions within the world of show business. A footballer's career often follows this same template, and though all will hope to get from stage 1 to stage 3 quickly and to stay there, they will almost always slide down to stage 4 and 5 in a short span of time. In show business, one way to fight against the heavy hand of time is by winning your field's most prestigious award on its most highly televised global stage. Given that the World Cup is the biggest sporting stage of all, the history that is written in such a tournament will never be fully blown away by the winds of time. So, even if the players in the World Cup winning squad go on to have forgettable or unremarkable careers, history books, documentaries, and internet pages will ensure that they will forever be linked with the most illustrious achievement in professional football. For the players, there is a trade-off in this glory. The positive is that their names will become synonymous with victory, recalled by fans within their nation and around the world for years to come. The negative is that the weight of this victory can be crushing. A player who wins a World Cup will see his career always compared to that exact moment, and their future journey is often not seen as good enough. Journalist Musa Okwonga makes an interesting comparison between a footballer's career and climbing a mountain. The road to the top is dangerous and tiresome, but weather conditions make staying at the top even harder. In other words, it's a long way up, but it can be a swift and sudden trip back to the bottom. The weight of winning a cup doesn't only apply to individuals either. For example, all of Brazil's current-day teams are constantly compared to the nation's iconic and victorious squads of the past. This was the case for France, who famously won the World Cup in 1998 and the Euros in 2000. As explained by Jonathan Johnson for Bleacher Report, these successive victories led to apathy and over-expectation throughout the French public and media. As there was now no margin for error, the national team crumbled during tournaments in the years after, and it is only in recent years that this has changed for them. The pressure can be crushing because a World Cup victory can represent much more than just a footballing triumph. In France, their 98 win helped strengthen the sense of widespread patriotism, or what Gérard Houllier describes as helping reveal a lost, or at the least half-hidden, national identity. Importantly, the World Cup helps cultivate folk heroes, legends who will be immortalized in national discourse and passed down through generations. In 1998, France's heroes came from varied backgrounds, reflecting a modern and multiracial society. The nation's shining star in the cup was Zinedine Zidane, the son of a warehouseman from Algeria. J.A. Mangan proclaims that upon winning the cup, France acquired self-confidence, won admiration for its modernity, found a new racial harmony, and discovered new role models. Though this is perhaps an overly optimistic view of the impact of such an event, the triumph of '98 has undoubtedly had some positive effect in the development of France's image as a multicultural and inclusive nation. A seemingly inclusive nation being so successful in the World Cup is important, as the tournament is broadcast globally and has worldwide impact. It is a similar case for the group of players who won the 2018 tournament. As DW journalist Ali Fahat states, the French national team has become an extension of all of us because it always looks like us. Football is the place where our idea of unity, by way of our diversity, shines brightest. With every international tournament, France's 2018 heroes are brought back into popular discourse. The reason, once more, is Ramener la coupe à la maison. When looking at the song's search volumes in France over the 5 years since the World Cup, we see how it remains within collective public memory and conversation, peaking at times of big tournaments such as the latest Euros and World Cup. Each time the French squad begins a new campaign, the song is picked off the shelf for another run in the spotlight, drawing our attention back to that specific year and those particular players, many of whom represent the same progressive and multicultural image of France which was widely dispersed in 1998. In this way, the song's core stands the test of time despite its dated lyrical references. It is a time capsule, but it is also malleable. Ramener la coupe isn't the only example of how music and sport can create this kind of malleable time capsule. Many will remember English crowds singing throughout the 2020 Euros. The original song, Three Lions, was actually written for the 1996 tournament, but is regularly revived by English fans looking to capture that same feeling of hope contained within those few minutes. Not only is the song itself nostalgic, as it was written over 20 years ago, but it also refers to its own set of nostalgic events in the lyrics, such as England's 1966 World Cup win. These legendary stories will live on through the track's timeless popularity. Many European football fans will also be familiar with the name Will Grigg, but the Northern Irish striker has had quite a regular footballing career, so why is his name instantly recognisable to so many around the continent? The reason is once again music. At the 2016 Euros, Northern Ireland fans created the iconic Will Grigg's on Fire chant. The song was such a hit that Grigg has remained a household name ever since. The impact of the song can be seen when looking at graphs which depict the search volumes for Will Grigg before and after the tournament and the song which came with it. I will end on this point. Time waits for no one. It's a fact that has inspired art and literature throughout human history, reminding us of our own mortality and the unpredictability of the future. Existence is inherently transient. But music has a unique power to capture moments, to immortalize events, and to store them in a vacuum by which they can be accessed and molded to fit the context of the future. Sport, for its part, holds a similar power. Ramener la coupe à la maison, in my opinion, is a perfect example of a combination of these two forms. It captures a moment in its entirety through two lenses, musical memory and sporting legacy. By looking at the players it celebrates and their respective journeys, we see the transient nature of time reflected back to us. We see how no triumph is eternal and no future success guaranteed. But as listeners, we allow ourselves to return to a period when we were ignorant as to these changes, unaware of these twists and turns in the story. We enter into a moment which is instantly recognizable, both from a collective stage and from a personal perspective. Ramener la coupe is a song that does no more than reflect the moment, but somehow, in its simplicity, in its immediacy, it transcends specificity and becomes permanent, eternal. In a 2019 interview, Nate Sloan, an assistant professor of musicology at the University of South Carolina, explained the power which pop music can hold, stating that simply by creating and responding to the world around you, you will create a sort of artifact of the moment when we're living. In my opinion, there are few artifacts as poignant, as vibrant, and as instantly transportive as Ramener la coupe à la maison. Some may roll their eyes at such a statement, so think of it this way. Be it 2018 or 2023, whether you're French or from the other corner of the globe entirely, many of us will at some point find ourselves tapping our feet and singing along to Allez les Bleus, allez.